And today we're going to dive into the topic of love bombing and boundary violation and how you allowed somebody to violate your own personal boundaries during the love bombing phase. So in the previous video, we discussed kind of that situation of how you might discover content like this. So you've just been discarded, you've just been broken up with, you feel terrible, and you're just kind of reaching out for answers and starting to find answers. And as you do that, you're resolving to learn going forward, and you kind of think about, how did you let this happen? And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is how did you let that happen in terms of the boundaries you allowed somebody else to violate and allow yourself to be love bombed. So I don't want to assume that everybody understands the term love bombing, but basically love bombing is the phase of a relationship that happens when you're with a person who, in terms of the way that they treat you, maybe not the way they treat everyone, is narcissistic in their tendencies, or they're toxic in their tendencies. You might find this a lot across a lot of cluster B disorders. And part of what happens is this love bombing phase, where basically it's characterized by idealization. They're idealizing you, and they're trying to spend as much time as possible with you and kind of ask you as many questions as they possibly could. And so in that love bombing phase, it kind of feels like just so amazing, right? It feels so loving and so sincere, except that the actual reality of it is that it may be almost like a sort of police shakedown for a confession that's extended days and days long. And what is attempting to be done is for the person who's narcissistic in their tendencies or toxic with you, they are going to get some little nuggets from you during this love bombing phase that they can use to hold on to you later. And we're going to get into 5 questions you can ask yourself to kind of find out, were you love bombed or are you being love bombed? But before that, let me just give an example. So an example might be that during the love bombing phase, somebody says to you, what's something that didn't work out in past relationships? And you say, boy, I just never felt like somebody really got me, something like that. Or, they might say, well, what's something from your childhood that, you're still holding on to? Well, I did something in the 8th grade and my mom just never, I feel like, has forgiven me for it, right? So these are 2 things that, they're not the most super intimate things, but they might be things that you would normally save for later. And you're going to feel yourself doing this, on night 1, 2, or 3 with this person who is spending tons and tons of time with you. And what they're going to do is, when they feel you kind of checking out, when they feel you being skeptical of the connection that they're expressing, they're going to pull that out. They're going to put it in their back pocket and they're going to say, you know what? I get you. I really get you. And that thing you did to your mom in 8th grade, I forgive you for that. And she should too. I can't believe she's still holding on to it. You're an amazing person. I really get you, right? And there could be a person that you'd run across that would do this in a sincere way. But I'm telling you, sadly, even though I know you're probably a person who plays it straight in most relationships, this person wasn't playing probably straight with you. They were specifically looking to get these kinds of pieces of information to try and hang on to you later by pulling them back out. So here's 5 questions you can ask yourself, and they're pretty simple, right? First question is, would I allow myself to do this? Now, specifically, would I allow myself to spend a bunch of time with someone and ask to spend a bunch of time with someone so early in a relationship? So, for example, if you went out on a great first date, like a coffee date or something, on a Wednesday night, and it went awesome, then would you immediately the next morning say, oh my God, I had such a great time. Hey, do you want to have lunch? And do you also want to have dinner tonight? Do you maybe want to stay the night? And yeah, Friday, I was thinking, well, let's kind of spend the whole weekend together. And, would you do that? You might want to spend that time with somebody. But a healthier person would probably just kind of enjoy the feeling of having had that great first date and be looking towards the next one. Yet, When this person who you met that's just discarded you, like we talked about in the last video, link in the description, when that person was doing this to you and you had a great first date, and then they said, hey, can I see you tomorrow for lunch, and can I see you tomorrow night? And hey, why don't you come over and spend the weekend at my place, etc. You went along with that, but you wouldn't have allowed yourself to ask for those same things because you know that the person would what? Think you were crazy or think that you're desperate. But here you are accepting it, right? So that's number one. Would I allow myself to do this? Second question, would I allow myself to say this? So during the love bombing phase, people are going to typically say things to you like, I've never felt this way before. This is something that it's never happened to me before. This is the most incredible feeling I ever had. This is what this person who's just discarded you, was telling you in the beginning. Now, if you've been on the planet for a few years and you've had a few relationships, would you allow yourself to say things like that to someone? Would you say, wow, I've never felt like this before? Say on night 2 or 3, wow, this is incredible. Wow, you're so amazing. Would you allow yourself to say things like that? No, you wouldn't. Why? Again, you're going to assume that that other person would set that boundary there and say, what's going on? You don't even know me. And that's what you should be asking yourself is like, you're saying this is so amazing. What do you even know about me? But again, just like in the first one, you're allowing somebody to spend all this time with you. You wouldn't allow yourself to ask for that. You're allowing a person to say a bunch of stuff to you that you wouldn't allow yourself to say. Question 3, would you allow yourself to be this sexual with somebody this soon? Now, I'm not saying that you should be a prude or that you should delay sex until a specific number of dates or something like that. But a lot of times when you're in a situation with a toxic person and you're going to spend the first, 7 or 10 days together, night after night, I would guess that they're going to be pressuring you to find out different sexual fantasies that you have. Why? So they can make them come true. So that they can create all these experiences for you that are specifically tailored to you. And you might be a person that, you typically wait to really be that open with somebody sexually. And here you are violating that boundary. Or you wouldn't be asking somebody on a third date or a third evening together, like you literally met 2 days ago, and you're saying, hey, what's your deepest sexual fantasy? I want to make it come true for you. You wouldn't do that. Why? Because you would assume the person would set the boundary and say, no, what's your problem? But yet you allow somebody to do that to you. So you didn't listen to that voice inside. A fourth question, would I allow myself to feel the way that this person says that they feel? So this person is going to probably be telling you or told you early in the relationship where you've just been discarded. They're going to say, I've never felt this way before. I feel like I'm falling in love with you. I feel like you're the most amazing person I've ever met. I feel like you're the one. I feel like you're my soulmate. I feel like our souls are connected, right? Okay, even if there was some truth in it, would you allow yourself to be feeling that way after you spent like 4 or 5 days with somebody? I mean, you might feel, wow, this person is so cute. This person is hot. I love talking to them. They seem really smart. They seem really funny. I mean, it seems like they're telling the truth. You might be pretty excited, but you probably would not be thinking, wow, this is the most incredible person I ever met. I'm pretty sure we're soulmates. Like, right? You just wouldn't even, not only would you not say it, you wouldn't even allow yourself to feel that. But yet you're accepting somebody saying this to you, and you would never even dream of allowing yourself to even think it. But here's somebody verbalizing it for you. So again, you're not listening to that voice. And then the fifth and probably most important question that you should ask yourself, if you want to know, are you being love bombed? Were you love bombed? Were you or are you able to tell anybody about what's going on? So would you feel comfortable sitting down with your best friend, for a pancake breakfast or something and saying, hey, guess what I've been doing? I just spent the last 10 days with this person I just met at Starbucks last Wednesday. And we've been together the last 10 days, pretty much 24/7. They're basically telling me that I'm the greatest person that they've ever met. How we've, had sex in cars and outdoors, and they've fulfilled most of my sexual fantasies that I've had for a long time, and they're telling me that I'm their soulmate. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. How's your pancakes, right? You probably wouldn't allow that, right? And the odds are that if you're just coming out of being broken up with by a person like this, you never did tell anybody about it. You never did tell anybody what was really going on. Why? Because you knew that it just was something off about it. So you knew that. And that's why you couldn't tell anyone. And that's so important to understand. In fact, usually you'll begin actually telling what actually happened, and you'll still be kind of embarrassed about it once you've been broken up with, or once it got so bad that you had to break up with that person. So that's kind of how that goes in terms of that realization. So just like last time, forgive yourself. You for whatever reason, you were vulnerable to it, accept the responsibility, right? As we talked about in this video, you absolutely knew some of the things were just absolute red flags, but you are going to resolve to learn from it. You're going to think about how to set those boundaries next time. So for example, you might not spend every night with somebody when you first meet them. And if they were to pressure you about it and say, boy, I really want to see you again tonight, you would just say something like, hey, in past relationships, I kind of allowed myself to spend too much time with somebody in the initial stages of the relationship and ended up kind of feeling out of control, and it just didn't feel good. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just go a little more slowly. And what is that person going to say that really cares about you? They're going to say, of course, I understand. I'm really attracted to you, but I respect that. And I want you to feel comfortable, right? Who wouldn't say that really cared about you? So that's how you're going to set boundaries in the future going forward. Of course, you're going to take care of yourself. If you're healing right now, you're going to eat, rest, socialize. And most importantly, if you're ruminating with yourself right now, if you're overthinking, overanalyzing, do that just with yourself, but do not share it with this person who's just broken up with you, if that's the situation that you're in. And do not allow yourself to really focus on getting them back. You might even still be kind of, quote, in love with them. In reality, sadly, they never probably loved you. I know that's hard to hear. You might still be in love with them, and I can respect that. And I know it's hard to go no contact. You probably can't. But as much as possible, please do not contact this person. Nothing good will come from it. They're only going to use it to make you feel even worse. So those are some thoughts on love bombing and setting boundaries. I hope this was helpful. If you have individual thoughts or feelings towards this, let's hear about that in the comments. Would love to respond to those. And stay tuned for more videos about recovering from this type of abuse. Thanks for watching.